People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, you know, in the same way when we beat Man United or any victory we have had this season, I don't like to, you know, I like to speak about them and then I like to let it pass. It's the same with defeats. I had plenty to say against Liverpool. Well, the Liverpool defeat in the league, Leicester, City, definitely our last game. And, you know, it's been and come. I accept the result. I accept what's happened and stuff like that. So I don't want to focus on the game per se. I just want to focus on Arsenal in general. And there is no real purpose of this video other than just, you know, just getting my thoughts out of there, really. And, you know, it's just therapy, if anything, really and truly. But I am having a bit of concerns with Arteta. Like, I'm going to stick by Arteta, you know. How do I make this make sense? I think football fans are specific to Arsenal fans. It's a bit weird with Arteta, cause there's some man that just want to back for the sake of backing, blindlessly scream, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. So if it bangs, I told you so. Some man didn't want it from the start, so they're onto him. For me, I have praise for him, I have criticisms and concerns. You know, right now I'm going to look at it from a neutral point of view. When we do well, I'm going to gas you up and not stop speaking about it. When you do wrong, I have to speak about it until my heart is content. You know, I'm sitting on the fence. There are a lot of positivities Arteta has brought. I think his man management, some could say isn't good, but I think his man management is okay. I think he's galvanised the fan base. He's pulled everyone together. Maybe not so much of our recent form, but there's that. Whether I agree with it or not, and I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, and there's definitely not that in an attacking sense, but generally since he's been here, I've seen him say something in the dressing room, in the press conference, and kind of back it up, and I kind of see a system and what he wants to do, and there are some positives, you know. That being said, I am concerned about things, because I'm going to get onto it, and I'm not leading a witch hunt against Willian. I just don't understand certain things, because as much as I think Willian is poor because he's poor, you're not necessarily playing to get the best out of Willian or any of the attackers. You know, the way you was using Pepe last season to now, it leaves me puzzled, because it's not like he's had a run in the team. And the way Willian's playing, I don't understand how Pepe doesn't. You know, you can speak about Pepe's consistency and all of these things which Arteta does, which he is not wrong for the record in, but none of it has a leg to stand on when you look at Willian. You know, Willian's playing consistently mediocre. He's not taking his chances. You know, he's not necessarily being consistent every couple of days, and he's being consistently poor, if anything, Arteta. You know, his body language is near enough identical to Pepe's. They both, you know, they don't necessarily look like they're gonna, you know, look the most positive and stuff, for want of other words. I don't understand a lot of things. I don't understand how. I must admit, again, recruitment is one thing, but I did think it would, similar to how he's improved us defensively, I thought in an attacking sense we'd be playing much better than this, and playing to the point where when you look at our attack, we could say, alright, cool, if you bring in the Hours, or you bring in my man, in the same way when he was improving us defensively, we said, you bring in Gabriel or something, we see what you're coming with. I don't think signing a creative man solves all our problems, purely because I'm not seeing enough on the coaching front to suggest that, people. And in relation to that, you knew how we defended and how we attacked needed to be improved. Last season, or when he took over, you know, the priority was just defence. You know, it was just defence. Just pattern up the defence. Just pattern that up. That's cool. But you still knew it. And I felt like we attacked better last season. So I think he's kind of put a handbrake up. But you knew the priority was to fix the defence. But, you know, in the short term is defence. Medium to long term is still defence. But next season, which would be this year, you're thinking of the attack. We knew once the window closed, well, a blind man knew that we needed attackers anyways. But you knew what we needed to do. And I know there's been Corona, there's been COVID, there's been postponements. But there's been enough time to structure the sort of players you're going to bring in. If you're not going to bring in a player, what are you going to do? Because I heard Smith Rowe by you yourself. Have you used him this year? I know he's injured, but when fit, is he going to be used? I heard a lot of talk about Nelson. Is he playing frequently? Is Maitland-Niles playing game in, game out as much as you're speaking about him? Or are you drafting him into the occasional big games? You know, Joe Willock, you speak of Joe, but I get it. I'm not saying these youngsters need to play, but I hear a lot of talk about these young players and creativity. I don't really see these young players playing like that. And I don't really see, if we're trying to fix the creativity in-house, whether that's using Willian in that role, whether that's a Joe or Emil or even a Nelson. I don't understand it. Yeah, Eddie Nketiah is playing a hell of a lot of football, but again, I don't understand what's going on with the young players to a degree. I don't understand some of the selections, you know, especially with the personnel. I do think there's a stubbornness. You know, you need stubbornnness as a manager, but you've got to be able to change a bit, and I don't think he is doing that. I'm not seeing. On form, I get it, you know. Aubameyang out wide balances the team. If Lacazette's scoring goals, if Willian's doing his thing, if Aubameyang's doing his thing, there's balance. But right now, Lacazette is not playing well, so I don't understand what we're going with. Aubameyang provides balance and what he gives us on the left wing. Sorry, I know he helps our left back out. I know he can score goals from out wide, but let's put him back through the middle. You know, you're struggling to score goals, and none of your attackers are banging. Take one out, put one through the middle, and keep it basic. You know, let's try. I think Pepe deserves a chance. Saka for me plays on the left. When Martinelli comes back, we'll revisit that. You go Aubameyang through the middle. You get back to basics. Of course, you want Lacazette back in form, you want Willian back in form, because these present problems. As poor as Lacazette is, I think to the end of the season you've got to keep him, because I think you still need a plan B striker. You still need a forward in this team. I don't think he's convinced with any of these attackers wholeheartedly, and he's not wrong with that. Clearly Pepe is not his guy. He doesn't believe in Pepe. You know, he can talk about Pepe motivation and all of these things as he wants. He doesn't believe in Pepe. He's not giving him a consistent run. He threw him in against City, didn't bang. He's not giving him. Where Willian, no matter what performance Willian plays, he's playing every week. That's your man. He doesn't believe in Pepe. I think he believes in Aubameyang as a footballer, but there's some sort of handbrake as to why he won't play him through the middle. He doesn't believe in Lacazette, you know, wholeheartedly. I'm referring to all of these players, because he'll start him in big games, equally could be dropped. He doesn't believe in Eddie as well. Obviously, because of what he demands through the middle, he needs, you know, it's very unlikely man are going to get 90 minutes playing up front, because it's a lot of work. You saw Lacazette yesterday, he was quite poor, you know, well, I say yesterday against Villa, you look at his average positioning, I'd implore you to all go look at it. He's dropping into the 10 role, you know, he's showed for the ball about 5 times or something like that. It's quite poor. In fact, on that note, I don't just want to say things and not be able to back it up, people. So let me bring up exactly what I was on about, because I think I saw Adrian Clark mention it on Arsenal's show. On the Arsenal, I can't remember what it's called, but that little review show they do, people. I'm trying to find it. The ball was passed to Lacazette 5 times, people, and the chance he missed. Ollie Watkins had 35 chances. And again, what that tells me is that your teammates are not trying to find you like how all the others are. But at the time, that's telling me as well that Lacazette is not showing for the ball. Lacazette is not in positions where he can damage the team, damage the opposition. And, you know, the team, maybe some of his teammates don't believe in Lacazette. You know, it didn't look to get fizzed in enough. And I think Lacazette, I don't think Lacazette is the best of players when he's isolated on hindsight. I think he's a good link-up player, but I think he struggled in that regards, people. So, yeah, you know, it is what it is in that regards. And I don't think he's convinced. I think he's convincing Willian with whatever Willian gives him. I guess he gives him some sort of consistency because he plays. I think he thinks Pepe is hot and cold. I think he's got concerns about Aubameyang through the middle. I don't think he wholeheartedly believes in Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah. You know, for me on that left-hand channel, I don't get it as well, because if Aubameyang plays there, and I know Nelson's fitness is going to be an issue, but you're telling me Aubameyang is the best wing? Obviously, in terms of goal scoring, you could say he's the best left forward we've probably got, but you're telling me he's the best option out there, you know? You've got Reece Nelson, who you say is highly rated and all these things. Surely he can provide balance on that left-hand side. Surely Saka can do exactly what Aubameyang does, minus the goals. You know, you could even move Pepe over there. You know, there's several things. So I'm not... I get the feeling that Arteta is trying to do a lot and ultimately doing very little. That's just how I feel as a fan. I still believe in him, but I can only talk on what I know. I don't think he's learning from his mistakes consistently enough, because against United, to a degree, it was defending, but he took the handbrake off. Went back to old basics and old habits against Aston Villa, and that kind of played into our hands. As poor as the players were, the game plan weren't good enough as well. And if I scroll down quickly, people, as I said, the problems are, like I said, I don't rate Willian or think he's necessarily the best, but you know, I have to acknowledge he's poor because he's poor. You know, 10 appearances, 2 assists. You know, how he's still playing, I don't know. That's on the manager, and the manager is not being supported with his performances. Willian has been mediocre. But at the same time, there's got to be a reason for Willian's poor form, because not if it was a thing where Aubameyang, Lacazette, or at least one of these players was excelling, I could turn around and say it's Willian. I think Willian is poor, but at the same time, if there's no attacking players thriving, that's down to the system. We're touching 6 hours or something like that without a goal from open play. Forgive me if I'm wrong. That's down to the players to fix up there on the field, but you know, you can't always absolve the manager of all criticisms and say trust the process. It's this and that. If when we win, you know, you're always talking about it. My point is balance. I'm not saying Arteta out. If we go months down the line and he's showing me more and more concerning signs, we might have to revisit that situation. But right now, he's still my man. Do you get it? And you look at it, even with Willian, people, even with Willian, you know, last season he created 12 chances. He was 8th for such big chances. I looked on the Premier League website. You know, he's 18th now in this season, and he's level with Aubameyang. Aubameyang's, both of them have created 2 chances. You know, your big striker is not scoring goals, but he's created 2 of your big chances. And there's been games where we're chasing the game, Aubameyang's crossing the ball. If you're Leicester, if you're I keep saying Leicester, if you're Villa, you're laughing at that. So again, he needs to pattern up people. And again, it goes back to, he talks about consistency with William. What consistency are we seeing in that regards, people? Just say you don't fancy Pepe, and he's got to do a bit better in that regards. And even so, when I hear someone like Arteta is so meticulous, when you're coming into this job, you know creativity is an issue just by looking at the last few years at us. Well, looking at, we just go on I'm not going to go on it, but just go and look at the chances we've created, our lack of creativity and our ever declining. You know the position walking into this club. You lot don't just do things off the cuff. You don't just become Arsenal's manager moving away from head coach overnight. You know that's going to happen for a while. So with that, why was there no proactiveness? We were reactive in the transfer market. Clearly we were playing a game of poker over Partey all summer. We was trying to get him cheaper than his release clause, maybe even look at alternatives, and it became clear, you know, we weren't proactive. You're not getting our, bringing the next man. Arteta hasn't been proactive to fix this in-house. We're just reactive, and that's what, in hindsight, and take nothing away from how he set up technically, that's why we're faring better whether we win, lose or draw against these top teams, because we're reacting. We're not going into the City game and thinking about, even the United, we didn't go against City, United, Liverpool. We didn't go into any of these games we've won where we've done what we've needed to be proactive, to think about what we can do. And I'm not complaining, because we've got some results in them, and you can't always do that. But I'm saying that's why maybe in hindsight we fare better, because we're reacting. Our job, defend man to a man, man's at the pump. We react to whatever happens. If an opportunity presents itself, we do what we need to do. Whereas in the smaller games, with respect against Villa and the Leicesters, as you see, where you need to be bit proactive and be the home side and whatnot, we've struggled for ideas. That comes down to the players and the players' weak mentality, I'm not going to lie, but it also comes down to Arteta, people. Really, really, really and truly. You know, looking at big chances created this season, people, you're looking at it again, you knew it. No matter what statistical metric you look at, you know attacking is an issue of ours. You've got Aubameyang and William with 2 apiece. You've then got Danny Ceballos and Hector Bellerin and Tierney. Well, Ceballos, William and Aubameyang all have 2 big chances created apiece. Bellerin's got 1 along with Kieran Tierney. You look at last season in terms of big chances created, Pepe's 8th. So again, whether you believe Pepe is good or not, he, you know, statistically goals and assists, he can improve a lot, but he's up there for goals and assists, same way Saka is. Why are you not playing your most creative men, and why are you not playing your striker through the middle, at least in this poor form? You're making things harder than it has to be, to a degree. When we're in form and things are going right and players start looking like players, by all means, try the William false 9, put Aubameyang back out wide, flirt with playing Saka in a 10, all of these little things, you know, in isolation, these things can help us, but we've seen someone doing too much and ultimately doing too little. And I'm not trying to belittle any of the work that Arteta's done, because I think he's done some positives, but I have to talk about the negatives. And, you know, he's been in the job a while now. I'm not saying it needs to be perfect, but we should steer a style of play. You know, it might be this defensive style that he's going with. Should steal a style of play. Should see a lot more in attacking intent. Should see players with a bit more clarity. Should see a bit more consistency with the lineup as well, you know. Again, I don't have it to hand, but, you know, how many times has the lineup remained unchanged? Ironically, against Villa and United were 2, but I can't tell you of the others, people, you know. Big chances created. You had Aubameyang last season, you had Saka, you had Pepe. Now, 2 of those 3 are playing. You obviously had Callum Chambers, and you've got Lacazette behind them in 4th, people. And again, you look at the numbers. Towards the end of last season, Pepe played quite frequently and played quite well. But this season, the only time he's got anything close to 90 minutes, people, is the 83 minutes he got against City. Before that, he got 14 against Fulham, he got 26 against West Ham, he got 22 against Liverpool, he got 32 against Sheffield United, 25 against Leicester, and also 25 in the home defeat to Aston Villa. He's on the bench for United, you know. As much as I think Pepe is frustrating and all of these things, what opportunities has he really had this season? Really and truly. Listen, like I said, he's a good player, but I find him very frustrating. I think he lacks consistency. I do think he's scapegoated. I do think what he's bringing is understated and underestimated statistically. But I don't feel, you know, in isolation, you know, the way he's playing, I don't mind that he's not playing necessarily. Not that he's been given a chance, but I don't mind that Pepe's on the bench. It's just when you're not, you know, I just want to see a plan. Pepe is not playing. Show me someone doing dirt so I can say, alright, cool, Pepe, you got a fight on your hands. You know, you're not showing me that. I'm not here to talk about Mesut Ozil. I want Arsenal to divorce this whole Mesut Ozil thing as much as I love him. But if you're not going to use Ozil, if you're not going to bring in a creative man, show me something on the field to say, alright, cool, we've got a backup plan. I could shut my mouth. I could be like, boom, alright, cool. But you failed to do what you needed to do in the transfer market. And I'm not blaming Arteta for all of this, but to a degree, he's now the head coach, manager, not head coach. And we've been bluntly told that he's in charge of transfers a bit more. You know, we know the Ozil thing is probably above him, but if you know you're not bringing in a man and whatnot, you got to fight tooth and nail to include Ozil, because this is the problem. This is at least the luxury that Emre did, because Emre's on the same ish that Arteta's on, but Ozil was registered. At least he could, not that it's right, throw him into that and say, alright, cool, I've played him. What happened now? You've got no leg to stand on. It's a direct consequence, you know. If Aouar was the #1 target, you didn't get him, and you're of the belief that, alright, cool, you can't get no one. I don't want no one. You know, I get that. If you only want the #1 target, I get it. If you don't want anyone. Personally, the flip side is I think you do need plan B targets, because as Arsenal Football Club, we ain't got a blank check. I don't mind who leaves this club. I don't mind missing out on players, as long as there's other plans that can be done, and we didn't have a plan. We failed to plan. Ultimately, we planned to fail. It's no coincidence that there's a byproduct of a lack of attacking coaching, and there's evident that we need that attacking player. Do you get it? These are direct consequences Arteta is doing. You know, you're taking your most creative man out of the team as well, based on on this video, on the metrics around it. You know, like I said, it don't really make sense what he's saying about Pepe away from isolation, because it makes sense when speaking directly. But then you've got Willian, who's played better in the league. I know Willian could turn around and say the Fulham game, but what's he really done in these 10 appearances? What's Willian done? He's not locked it down defensively. He's not been no creative hub. He's not been no consistent threat. His set pieces have been his shit as well. You know, Willian is looking like a costly expense, like a costly transfer. 3-year deal, free transfer. It's looking very expensive, and you know, I'm sure Chelsea were begging him to stay. They can't believe their luck now. You got Pulisic, you got a whole heap of options. Ziyech, I know which one I'd prefer, but it is what it is. And like I said, you ain't got a leg to stand on, Arteta, when you say what you're saying. And then you look at Willian now. Willian's been afforded some real minutes. You know, if Pepe gets these minutes and he F off, but it seems like Willian's only being given the consistency, because although Willian's himself not completed 90 minutes, well, he's got 90 minutes once, he's played significantly more minutes. He got 86 against United, to be fair, he's playing alright. How he got 65 against Aston Villa, I don't know. He got 69 against Man City, fair enough, he weren't playing in his natural role, it was dead. Sheffield United, he got 90, you know, fair enough, second half he did his thing. Liverpool, he got 68. West Ham, he got 64. Fulham, probably his best game and probably his only highlight in his Arsenal career, potentially, 76. But he's failed to score with people. He has failed to score this season. So what is going on? I don't understand it, people. I really don't understand what's going on, really and truly. And I'm gonna have a hard time understanding it all, because you look at the statistics, it's damning, people, and all of this. Listen, I can blame. It's not Arteta in isolation. The players have to take responsibility. Historically, for all our issues, you got people above him, but we can't absolve Arteta of all problems, because he is here himself. He's put himself in the firing line. We've only scored 9 goals this season from what, like 8 or something games. That's fucking atrocious for our attacking quality. Whether you think Lacazette, Pepe, all of these guys are the best in the league or the worst in the league, whatever. You're going to tell me they can't score more than 9 goals and be more of a consistent threat game in, game out? That's on the players to fix up, but it's a byproduct of Arteta. You know, because he's not, I have to assume you're not coaching to get them out. I'm not seeing muscle memory. I'm not seeing consistent movement. I'm seeing things in isolation, but not consistently. And even defending. The schoolboy defending I saw against Aston Villa implies to me it's not sustainable that we're going to lock teams down consistently. As I said, we've got 9 goals this season. Lacazette ain't bagged in a hot second, but he's our top goal scorer in the league with 3. Aubameyang's got 2. And then, you know, the rest of the goal scorers are made up of Pepe, Eddie and Nketiah, Gabriel and Saka. And I'd say for those 9 goals scored, I'm not that you've got to discount them, because a goal's a goal. But how many were as a result of set pieces? I don't have it to hand, but you'd say at least 2-3 of those were set pieces. How many have been scored from open play? We're touching 6 hours without such. So again, you know, what are we doing on the training ground? And that's down to Arteta. In terms of assists, again, what's going on? Bellerin's got 2, you know, and it's not like Bellerin's Trent Alexander-Arnold or Robertson, where we're relying on their fullbacks to be creative, you know. It's pretty poor. Shout out to Bellerin. Williams living off the 2 he grabbed against Fulham. You've got Ceballos with 1 along with Aubameyang. We're 7th for clean sheets. To be fair, our defensive record has improved, and out of the only teams expected to make the top 4, top 6, top 8, you know, we were top 8 last season, only Chelsea are on top of us. So So yeah, man, and they're ahead of us by 2. You know. Not that it's really relevant or whatnot, but again, you know, one positive, and that's not really a positive, but you know, I was seeing when I was looking on the Premier League website, I was seeing a lack of Arsenal players scoring quite high. But Gabriel is 3rd in the league for passes and 6th for touches. You know, he's made well in terms of touches. I don't know why I didn't write down the other one, people, but he's made 681 touches. I don't know why I didn't write down his passes, but he's only bettered by Højbjerg at Spurs, and when you consider the role Højbjerg plays is expected, and Everton's Michael Keane. We also don't have a player in the top 36 in the league, people, like it shows you on the PremierLeague.com for shots. What does that tell you? Regardless of if Arsenal scoring or not, Pepe, Aubameyang, Lacazette, them man there should be in the top 36. Come on now, let's be serious. This is again down to Arteta. Our top 5, when I whittled down the filter and looked at Arsenal, Saka's got the most shots with 12, and this is a man who's been playing all over the place, really and truly. Shout out to Saka. Aubameyang's got 10, Lacazette's got 9, Pepe's got 7. When is Pepe on the field consistently, as we've been alluding to? Then you've got Willian, Xhaka and Gabriel making up the rest with 5. So we're toothless in front of goal. Once again, the players have to take responsibility, but on the other hand, it's a bit of a joke thing. We're 15th for goals collectively. You know, Wolves are behind us. A couple of not just, I'm not getting at Wolves, but a couple of the promoted sides are behind us and things. Teams that you'd expect to not make up this sort of thing, and you know, we're the one team looking at it that we should be higher, people. We're 15th for goals, people. We're 6th for wins with 4. You know, we've attempted the fewest shots in the second half of league matches this season, people. More than any other of the 91 sides in the Premier League or the EFL divisions. We've only attempted 33 shots. How many games have we been chasing the game? Last game, you know, last game at home, the last 2 games at home. This is where I go back to. You never get the vibe that Arsenal want to truly win a game of football, whether we're winning, losing or drawing. The statistics are damning, people. They're pretty damning, you know. Harry Maguire has had 11 shots this season. That's more than Lacazette and Aubameyang at the time of collecting that stat. Like I said, the bottom 4 clubs and Wolves have scored fewer goals than Arsenal, and that's it. That's not the best of company to keep. You know, the only positive, if you look for one, depending on how you contextualize stats, despite the 2 home defeats, Arsenal have 2 more points than the equivalent fixtures from last season. Not that, you know, we finished 8th, so anything should be an improvement, really and truly. Ross Barkley, you know, perform like that, you should be in the England side. But, you know, just to illustrate the point, Ross Barkley against us on the carpet, you know, no fans, not that Arsenal is the loudest. Technical stadium, lovely carpet, suits a player of the technical level of Barkley. He created 6 opportunities in that game. The last time we did that's 2018, Stoke City, Mesut Ozil. Forget Mesut Ozil. I'm not using that as an agenda to push Mesut Ozil into the team. I'm highlighting our problem with creativity. And that's where I'm on Arteta. Because you either fucking fix this with the players you've got. Apologies for my language. You either bring someone in. You have to be proactive, you know. We were very reactive. Even, it's irrelevant, but the Saliba thing. If it's become clear that Saliba isn't... You don't just wake up and say Saliba's not levels. Why not get him out on loan quicker? Send him to St Etienne. Send him to Germany. If you want to send him to the Championship, do it, and do it early so he can acclimatize. It seemed quite rushed. It seemed quite reactive that we're trying to do that on the last day of the season. And again, I can't blame Arteta for everything, but it's a direct consequence because he's been allowed to run the rule over all these members of his squad. He's been allowed to say who he wants and don't want. I don't think it's his decision, and I think the board are stitching him up. But at base level, what's come out the horse's mouth is that Ozil is not involved for a sporting decision, and you know, it's tough to leave to have a 27-man side when it's 25. He set himself up for that one. You know, Arteta has to. I'm not seeing any real ethos. I did expect to see a bit more building blocks, a bit more things to suggest there's light in the end of the tunnel. Not in terms of Arsenal getting top 4, but when I'm looking at the team, I'm saying, all right, cool. This week we had 10 shots. The next week we're having 15. I'm seeing some improvement. You know, we're still a bit iffy, but we're seeing improvement. That's all I wanted as a fan, to see consistent improvement. I'm not seeing that. What games have we been perfect in? At a push, you could say Fulham, and after discount that, because true say you can only play who's in front of you, but we all know Fulham are rubby. It is what it is. You know, Arsenal have only scored 1 more goal than Aston Villa at the Emirates this season. Pepe's been a bit part player, but still he's had the joint most shots. What's going on in that regard? You know, we've scored 9 goals in 8 Premier League games this season. You know, we have to go up to 98, 99 for such. You know, Aubameyang has played a 90-minute game at home without attempting a shot. He was one of only 3 players who didn't record an attempt for Arsenal in this game. Now, Listen, I'm not going to just initially blame Arteta. Aubameyang's the one playing. He's got to pull himself out. When things aren't going well, you have to demand the ball, try something a bit different and try to have an effort. But is this a byproduct? You know, teams are clocking it now. They're clocking the Aubameyang out wide thing. You know, fullbacks are not being, like you see with Williams and Walker when we beat Liverpool and City. Teams are not leaving Aubameyang isolated 1v1 too tough now. You know, they're not doing it. They have our number in that regard, so we need to fix up. And the defending for the first goal, for me in particular, was atrocious, really. I know Saka scored the own goal, and I think that's a learning curve for Saka, because there's been games he's had very good games against top teams where we've had to defend for large periods at fullback. But as I've told you lot, you know, is he necessarily playing well at left wing back because he's defending well, or is it because of what he's giving us in an attacking sense? I do think he defends well, but you know, let's not make out he's a great 1v1 fullback. And I'm not criticising him, I'm just commenting on what I've seen. And you look at the goal he conceded, you know, he could have stepped up early, he could have read the danger earlier. Don't get it twisted, I'm not blaming Saka for his own goal. I'm saying what he could have done better in that regards, people. Because way before it got to that, it should have been dealt with. And we're seeing consistent players ball watching, people are not looking at what's around them. You know, to a degree, Arteta can't teach you lot these things. You should know that. But we've got a bag of pretenders in this team. We've got two declining players in Willian and Lacazette. You know, I want to be proven wrong, but they are declining. Evidently, Lacazette is declining. He's having less and less influence on games as they go on. He's scoring less goals. All the general play and all this farts that people used to go on with to excuse him for not scoring 20 league goals, none of it stands. You know, last season he scored 10 in the league, forgive me if I'm wrong. This season, does he look like he's going to get 10? He's got 3. Fair play, you know, you did back him to get 7. Lacazette's been consistently inconsistent. Williams been consistently underwhelming. What balance does Aubameyang with these players form? What balance is Aubameyang given by playing left wing to allow these players to thrive? Because they don't deserve it, people. It's a bit of a joke one, really and truly. And it's down to Arteta to figure this out. But there's just a lot of things I praise him for, but there's a bag of things I don't understand. And way before I talk about bringing players in and all of these things, I do think there's a lot of question marks over Arteta himself. I still back him, I still retain faith in him, but it is what it is in that regards, people, man. I've got nothing more to say, people. Ironically, I wanted to speak about this yesterday in my live stream, but me and Curtis went off topic. But for now, people, deluded, I'm out.